Grab a brew, listen up, and get back to you. This is Things I Wish I'd Known podcast.
Hello and welcome to Things I Wish I'd Known with your host Rachael, the podcast where we share positive conversations to create change in your life. And today I am with Lisa McHargue and I'm very excited to talk to her because I am I don't think disorganised is the right word because I'm actually quite organised. I can get a lot of things done, but clutter-brained maybe. And Lisa is a former high school teacher. She used to teach Spanish, turned digital organiser. And just off recording, I was like, oh my God, I'd be so embarrassed for you to see the back end of my laptop. It is a disaster. So I'm very excited to speak to her because I'm sure I'm not the only one who is living in digital chaos.
Not at all.
I think Lisa's going to help us look at things. You know, she's sorted out Google Drives. She's helped people that have had literally millions of unread emails in their inboxes. And when she's not helping people get organised and work on, you know, digital minimalism, if you like, she's hanging out with her family. And I love this bit, pretending to be a contestant on the Great British Baking Show.
Yes.
I'm going to ask you as well. Let's just start there. What's the best thing you've ever baked?
Okay, so this is like a funny, sad story. Actually, I think it's the Great British Bake Off in the UK, right?
It is.
So the word Bake Off is trademarked in the US, so that's why they changed the title for the US.
Oh,
Pillsbury has trademarked. It's the exact same thing, yeah. Like Paul Hollywood and Prue Leith and Noel and that just I guess is not coming back next season. Yeah, same one. I watched it on Netflix. That's how we get it here. And we're always behind. Your episodes air live on Tuesday, but we don't get them till Friday. So I have to like swear off the internet until I've watched it.
What do they do? Like edit? I never understand that because I'm like,
no idea.
Well, I guess they maybe have to like produce it for Netflix. Maybe it's a different screen size or something.
No idea. But so funny, sad thing. So I loved to bake. And then I had a daughter 8 years ago. And after I had my daughter, I was really sick for a long time and couldn't figure out why. It turns out I had become lactose intolerant after being pregnant and giving birth. And so now, like at age 30-ish, I figured out, I can't have dairy anymore. And I'm the kind of person like think like butter and cheese and cream make the world go round. And I know what I'm missing because for the first 30 years, first 27 years I was fine. The best thing I have baked, I think I'm always proudest when I pull off like a really good cake because I feel like cake is a little bit trickier. Like cookies are super easy. You can mess up cookies, but like they're still good. Like a bad doughy cookie is still a good cookie.
Yeah.
But cakes are a little more technical. So that's what I'm always more proud of. And so now I have to figure out like dairy-free baking. So if I went on, I would nail like free from week, or if it was dairy or vegan, I'd be like, got this.
I'm going to dig out and send you when we finish. There's a couple of recipes. I love cooking, but I'm rubbish at following recipes. So like my sister and my mum are actually really good bakers. Like they can make, meringues and cakes and
I tried meringues because of Bake Off. I'm like, I don't have the patience for this. This takes too long to let them cook.
It's a thing in my family. Like my nan, my grandma, she used to make the most incredible meringues. Like the kind of meringues that, what's that place in London? I think it's Carluccio's. No, there's this like famous kind of Italian restaurant, and outside in the window they always have these insane meringues,
beautiful,
that are like
shaped
huge
things.
And they have like both marbled hands. And like beautiful. And my nan used to just make them, and she used to make this incredible lemon meringue pie. It was like the famed thing when you'd be like, Nan, make sure you make the lemon meringue pie, And my sister and my mum are definitely on that. Like my mum makes her own bread and they bake cakes and stuff. I'm that cook who's like, what have I got in my fridge or freezer? And then I just chuck everything in a pan and make it up as I go along. So baking for me is like tough. It's hard to like follow a thing. So when you get a cake good. But I've got 2 recipes that I actually make really well that are super easy to do, and they're dairy free, I think. So there's one that's like peanut butter cookies.
Oh, it's good.
It's so good. It's like coconut flour and peanut butter and coconut oil and I can't remember all the stuff that's in it, but
half the stuff is like coconut and almonds now.
Yeah, basically.
Coconut, almonds, and flax.
Welcome to oil life is going to be your baking life now, using oil instead of butter.
That should be it.
But they come out really, really good. And there's like a gooey brownie recipe.
Nice. Also, always good.
Yeah, super good. So I know that people didn't tune in to listen to the cake.
I know, because I wanted to talk more, like watching Bake Off is how I learned like so much British slang. And then like Bake Off is like a gateway show because I love Taskmaster and I like 8 out of 10 Cats and I like QI, but I just have to like find them all online. So every now and then I have to Google like, what does chuffed mean? Like that one early on, I was like, what? Like I'm chuffed. I'm like, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Or like there was a season of Taskmaster. Someone just kept yelling "bosh" like after they nailed a task. But it did nail a task. Just bosh. So now my husband and I occasionally will just go to each other, bosh.
That's so good. Yeah. I never think about that. I love
it's all these little words. I'm like, I think that means this. Bosh was, I hope it's not something vulgar. I'm so sorry, everybody, if it is.
No.
From others, it was like celebratory.
Yeah, it just means like
oh, I nailed it. Like,
done it.
Yeah, like it's done. Like you're watching YouTube, it's done. Yeah.
It's so funny because I've got on my TikTok feed. My TikTok feed is very bizarre. I don't know about anyone else's not for you page. Not for you page? For you page.
There should be a not for you page.
Sometimes it is a not for you page. But it's, sometimes I get these things where it's like American rappers listening to like UK grime and then trying to decipher it. It is hilarious.
I can't even imagine.
Like, oh my God, he just said this, it means that. And I'm like, it does not mean that.
Love it.
Oh, he's talking about this. You're like, he is not talking about that.
Like, no, sweetie. Oh, you sweet summer child. That's not what that means. Love it.
Oh my God, I love it. So, I mean, how did you get into this? So it's quite a niche market, isn't it? Digital organising, and like you've mentioned that you like to, I guess, live in minimalism.
Yeah. So
tell me how that kind of came about.
Oh, it's a weird, long, windy road. So I don't even know how many years ago now, I ran across a documentary on Netflix. I really need to say, I can't remember if it's called Minimalism or The Minimalist. But
it's so good. Is it the two guys?
Okay. Yeah,
so
it's two guys like Joshua Fields and Ryan Nicodemus, I want to say, or maybe I flipped their names. Anyways, if you Google The Minimalists, like it's two guys, they'll pop up.
Yeah.
But yes, this fantastic documentary, and kind of in a nutshell, like the very last line of the documentary is something about loving people and using things, because when we flip it around, things go wrong, like using people and loving things. But that was kind of the start of me as far as like a minimalist. And I got rid of probably 2/3 of like my possessions, and I have a husband and child. So, we like have stuff.
Yeah.
But it is amazing the weight that is lifted when you get rid of stuff. And, for example, people are like, well, isn't it harder to get dressed in the morning because you have way fewer clothes? But because you have fewer things, you see these new combinations of clothes you can put together, and every shirt is your favorite shirt. It's not like you have all these clothes and these 3 shirts you love to wear all the time. No, you love everything you have. And so you're happy to wear all of it. And I was a teacher for 10 years. I'm actually, as we're recording this, it's almost my 1-year anniversary of leaving the classroom, which is exciting.
Very exciting.
It's been a good choice for me. But I was teaching, and I happened to be on Zoom with someone sharing my screen, and they said, I'm going to be teaching direct object pronouns. I don't know how I want to intro this. I'm like, I have a story and a really cute activity. Hang on, let me pull it up. And so I pull it up and I'm like, here it is. And my friend I was talking with goes, oh my gosh, Lisa, how did you do that? I'm like, I just opened up PowerPoint and I made it. And they're just like, no, not how did you make the resource? How in the world did you find that so fast? I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, Lisa, it would have taken me at least 15 minutes to find that file. I'm like, what do you mean it would have taken you 15 minutes to find this file? Yeah. And we had this conversation about, she legitimately believed Google Drive was just a terrible product. Everybody in the world hated it. It couldn't be organized. It was just a bad platform. And I was like, no. And she said, you don't understand. I didn't even think a Google Drive like yours was like a possibility. She goes, this is not even something in my reality that I thought could exist. Like, you need to tell people about this. You need to teach people. And so I started working with teachers. And I think actually that conversation happened in like late 2019. Little did we know can I swear on this?
Yeah.
Little did we know little did we know the shitstorm that was about to come with COVID. And in the US, like some schools shut down. I taught at a private school. So we had some different, we weren't beholden to some of the restrictions of public schools. So basically, March 12th, 2020 was the last day I saw that group of students in person. 7 days later, it was a Thursday. The next Thursday, I was here in my home office teaching from home, and we carried on for fourth quarter of that year, the last term. And the next year we were back in person. So like we taught through this, and I was used to it because I was at a one-to-one school. Every student brought their own device. We did a lot of stuff electronically, but a lot of teachers for the first time were thrown into use Google Classroom. Or they were teaching online, and they were like, holy shit, how am I going to, how do I do this? And it was like files, emails. And, we were, it's not like we had anything else going on, like managing like a global pandemic, like, there was a lot going on. And so that's kind of,
you've got your kids at home and you've got to teach other kids.
Oh my gosh. Yes. I taught right here at the desk I'm at. My child she was not in school yet. So she had just turned 5. And I there were days I taught with like a screaming 5-year-old at my feet, like with my high schoolers. And it was horrible. Yeah. But that's really when I started really being vocal about, okay, like everybody buckle up. Like, here's how we handle this. Like, you don't need to save all the things. Here's how you should name it. Here's how you should make file folders. Here's how you should manage all these emails that are coming from parents and students and admin, and all of the like educational technology companies were like, free trial. And like, if you know a teacher, like, we love some free stuff because like pay is not great in the US, or like all the things.
Yeah, but also like free trials of things.
Really overwhelming.
I get sucked into that so much as well, because you're like, when you run your own business, it's like, this is going to save you time, or this is going to help you do this. And you're like, oh, cool. And then you end up with like, I don't know, 500,000 free trial things that becomes really overwhelming. And you're like,
plus you're investing. It's not just like digital space or whatever. You're investing time and energy. Your time and energy are resources. So and those are areas. Space. Oh yeah. Cognitive load is like the fancy term for like how much stuff your brain can do, like how much energy your brain has to execute like cognitive functions. Yeah. And clutter decreases that, your cognitive load. It eats it up real fast. Decision fatigue is a real thing. So even when it's a decision like trying which file do I open or what should I use, all of those little things really add up. But really through that is when I started helping teachers. I've had an online business myself since 2019. And so I was kind of in this online business world as well, and started helping business owners. And that's what I do. Now when I tell people what I do, I say I'm a digital organizer because it's the easiest way to explain it. It's the not 20-minute version of everything that I do. Yeah. But people are like, oh my God, I need you. Like, you haven't seen my files or my email, or, oh, my Canva. If you use Canva, it's terrible. It's horrible to organize. I'm laughing, Rachel. That's the reaction. Canva, anybody, if you're listening, Canva is a freaking nightmare. Your user interface is terrial.
It's amazing for design though. Like, I used to use
I love it. It's so easy.
I used to use Photoshop and Illustrator because I've got a bit of an art background. And then when I found Canva, I was like, hang on a minute, I can click a button and remove a background. I don't have to draw around and do this and do that.
And change all the colors to like your brand colors, like boom, like, it's so much easier.
Quick. But the filing is terrible. And the search function is really bad as well.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of Canva's organizational features. Canva as a design tool, my friend, because I'm design challenged, but everyone's like, everyone's Canva is a mess. I actually met somebody the other day. All she does is organize Canva. That is her job. She works with like online people and brand designers, and that's what she does. She is a Canva organization expert. And I'm like, writing down your name.
This is like one of the things where I think it's so interesting, isn't it? Like different people's niches, because that's so niche, but also so needed. The amount of time that I spend just searching for files, looking for things. So one of the reasons like I have problems with content, I've made so much content over the last 4 years. I haven't
because
filed
you have
any
to
of
keep
it,
remaking it.
but I haven't filed any of it. I don't ever repeat content ever.
Yep. But you could, because nobody would really know. That's the thing. A lot of people I work with, they're remaking content. They're rewriting copy for launches or sales pages because they can't find it. And they're like, screw it. I'll just start over because I've already wasted 20 minutes searching. Exactly. And that's a teacher problem too. And then you remake the activity, you go to save it, you go to name it. And it's like, a file with this name already exists. Are you kidding me now? And it's the one you were looking for. You're like,
even.
Yes.
It makes me so angry. Like when you're searching for something you can't find it, and I just go, fine, okay, I'll just redo it. And then literally it's like, won't let you save it because it's the same as the file you spent 45 minutes looking for.
And then recreating, 21st century problems. You are not alone. And then you're just in a horrible mood for the rest of the day. You're like, screw it, I am done working. And you walk away because you're just mad and frustrated. And that's, a big part of like, I don't want people to feel like that. Like we got way bigger issues. I always say like, stop swearing at your like files, because there's way more important things to swear about than like your emails and files and stuff.
I feel like, it's a weird one. I think because I'm so chaotic about, and I imagine people will resonate with this as well. It's so funny. I was having a conversation at the weekend with a good friend of mine's new girlfriend, who's lovely, by the way, if you're listening. And we were chatting about how at the beginning of the year, she's diagnosed ADHD. I think I have it. But we were talking about at the beginning of the year when you get a new planner and you're like, this year,
this is it.
This year's going to be different. I'm going to be so organised. And I'm actually very good at getting organised. So I've got a Trello board, I've got Airtable, I've got Miro.
I love Airtable.
I love Airtable.
It's like my love language.
That's how I organise the podcast stuff, and that's probably the only one that I sort of managed to like keep up with. Google Drive, my Dropbox, all these different things. I've got all these organisational Asana I've used. Pretty much any tool that you get told is going to help you organise your life. Yes, please. I spend about 2 weeks. I do the same with planners. I'm like, and I write out everything I'm going to do for the year. And I organise all the files and I do all my thing. And I'm like, yes, I've done it. I'm so good. I'm organised. It's going to be different this time. And then it's keeping up the system that I can't. I don't know what happens to my brain. And then the system becomes overwhelming because I'm like, oh my God, there's too much stuff. So I don't look at it anymore. And then about 6 months later, I go, I need a new system. This is crazy. So I'll just start over. And I actually had an email the other day from a company saying, we're closing your account.
Because you haven't logged in and whatever. Yeah.
I forgot that I even set it up. And I spent months doing that. And then I got an email the other day saying, you haven't logged into this since 2020 or whatever.
Yeah.
And then when I went into it, I was like, oh my God, and there was so much good stuff in there. And I just totally forgot it even existed.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. So let's dig into this, because there's a lot of things happening and they're really common. That's the other thing. Like, this is so common. Because who doesn't love a shiny object and like new tool? And oh my God, when like back to school time and like right now, I cannot go to like the stationery section of a shop because I love planners, I love pens, I love notebooks. Too. Like, it's just a problem. So I just avoid the situation. But when it comes to digital organizing, really any organizing, but I'll stay in my realm of digital. I always like you want to keep it simple, and you have to find what works for you. So like I use Asana. ClickUp is kind of like not the new kid on the block, but it's the one I hear a lot of people going to, and they love it. And you know what? I'm sure ClickUp is freaking amazing. I'm sure it's great. But I already have Asana. It works for me. And I don't want to take the time and energy to learn ClickUp because I don't work with people. I sometimes work with people's project management systems, but it's not like my main thing. So it's not like like, like the cost benefit analysis. I'm like, meh.
Yeah.
And, that was the same thing back in teaching. I used a game called GimKit. That's super fun. It was like made literally by like a 17-year-old as a school project, and it's fabulous. But there's a new game called Blookit that got really popular during COVID and pandemic teaching, and everyone loves it. And again, it's a great product, I'm sure. I've never used it because I didn't need it. I already had something that fulfilled that need. So like if you use Asana, don't feel like you have to use ClickUp or Trello or, Airtable or whatever.
I think the UK equivalent at the moment is one called Notion.
Oh yeah, Notion.
Everyone seems to be talking about that.
Circles,
and they're also pitching it in a way of like, oh, if you've got ADHD, this, and so I was like, and then I just thought, just don't
because then you have to learn it, and then you got to move everything, and then what happens is your ideas
and
are
you're not going to use it. I know I'm not
Airtable and Trello and Asana and this, and when stuff is all scattered about, that's the other problem, because now not only are you searching, let's just say Asana for like this task or this thing, you're like, shoot, maybe I didn't put it on, maybe it was in Trello. Crap, maybe I just made like a Google sheet. And now not only are you searching one platform, you're having to check like 5 different platforms. So that's one thing I do. I work with a lot of people is we consolidate, or like, cause I have 1, 2, 3, I think I have like 7 Google Drives of my own.
Right.
And then I manage like 2 more for clients. I have 2 drop boxes as well. But every single one has a designated purpose. So I know if it's like behind the scenes learning for my business, that's in La Maestra MCH at Gmail. Like that's in that account. That's what I use to sign up for courses and freebies and opt-ins. Like I know that's where it is. If it's, like my notes from a consulting client, that's in Lisa MCH, because that's like my consulting client thing. But yeah, so it's about finding the tools that work with you and being strong enough to say, this works for me. Like I don't need shiny object syndrome, because it might be an investment, a financial investment, but really there's always more money. You can always get more money. Okay. But no one has more time. You cannot get more time. How you choose to spend your time, that's all you get. And it could end tomorrow. Like none of us know how much time we have. So, do I want to spend my time learning ClickUp? I don't. I really don't. Yeah. And I'm sure it's great, but I'm not going to. And then energy as well. Yeah, you can kind of get more energy. There's things we can do. But for a lot of people, energy is a very, very precious resource, whether that is physical energy, mental energy, focus. It's something that you want to take that into consideration. So when I work with people like decluttering and minimalism, like I left Twitter before all the stuff happened with Twitter a long time ago, because educational Twitter, every time I went on it, it had finally kind of become a negative space for me. And I was leaving in a like feeling worse than when I went on. I'm like, this is stupid. Like, why am I going on this? So that's something I pretty much just removed from my life. And I check in every now and then to make sure I didn't accidentally get tagged in some Twitter feud or something. Yeah. But when we talk about like digital organization, I talk a lot about it in terms of like, especially energy and time are really the 2 main resources.
Because when you're just redoing, I get so frustrated. Like I will redo things. This is where probably anyone that listening to this that's like diagnostics for ADHD will probably be like, yeah, babe, that's an executive function thing. Because I will literally
comment below, email Rachael if you're that person, and you can honestly skip her ahead in the queue.
I just I've been on the wait list since December 2019, and they've now told me that it's going to be another 2 years from this point. So 4 years to get an appointment.
Wow.
Crazy.
You could come to the US and just pay $20,000 and get in tomorrow.
Yeah. Wow. And you can kind of pay for it in the UK, but there's now a 9-month waiting list, even if you pay, because it's gone so crazy with people.
Everybody's been home and actually had to that's like a good thing and a bad thing. I feel like everyone was home during the pandemic and had to sit with themselves and were forced to get to know themselves. And
that's when I was like, I was literally like, what? And also because I used to share, and then I moved into my own flat by myself. Yeah. And so suddenly it was like really evident that people weren't moving things, and it was just like
it was like that Taylor Swift song, "It's me. Hi, I'm the problem.
I'm the problem. it's me. Hi. And it's fine, you know, for a lot of things it's fine. You can find a workaround, but like, I've done things like written a whole brand document, you know, that took me say like months, like 2 months, and it's got like, you know, my keywords and my direction and the
all
mission,
the things that took a
and
lot of time and effort
the
and
brand
thought,
colors and like all this stuff, and it's taken ages to put together. And then sometime later I'll be like searching for the brand document, and when it comes up there's like, say, 4 brand documents, and I've actually done that document multiple times, forgot it existed, started it again, and then, you know, or like I'm in the process of writing a book, so we'll see how that goes. And that's been hilarious, because I'll start writing and then I get overwhelmed by everything that's in the thing, so then I copy it into another one, and then so now I have all these files that are called things like not this one at the beginning in caps, because there's another one that I've copy pasted or started, and then I have to like copy paste out of and consolidate. It's literally chaos. I don't know why I do that to myself.
Yes.
I feel like I'm just giving like, everyone must be like, on the surface she looks so like she's got it together. Now I'm giving away all the secrets.
So many people that I work with are like wildly successful people, like 6-figure business owners. Like they make hundreds of thousands of dollars. They have, from the outside looking in, they are successful, but like really like everything's a well-oiled machine running great. And behind the scenes, it's a mess. Like that's
so
awful.
Good to know, because I'm
and they're just flying by like a wing and a prayer. Or there's a saying like in the US, like it's held together with spit and baling wire. I always say like spit and a prayer. Like it is just barely holding on, and they're like scrambling, and they've got all these like untitled or, you know, like April promo thing and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's very tricky. So for people that are listening at home, where do they start? Because I think that's often, you know, like I had a big declutter when I moved flat, and it felt amazing. And then some months later, I actually had another big declutter, and I was actually shocked at how much stuff I was taking out. And I felt so good afterwards. I felt so clear and like focused. But it's that beginning bit. I think if I wasn't moving house, I never would have actually actioned that. So obviously it's different physical to digital, but if people are sitting there like me and they're thinking, because actually we only said this off recording, didn't we? Every year I promise myself that I'm going to spend 2 days digital filing over Christmas, because I don't have clients, I don't have anything. And in my head I'm like, imagine if you just like got your Dropbox, because like in Dropbox,
got it together.
In Dropbox I have multiple files that are called things like file or delete, but there's multiple of them that I need to like go through and decide what's in there, and do I need to file it or delete it. And I have multiple like files that are called things like desktop, and then when my desktop gets like chaos, I just dump it all in a folder called desktop, and then I take that folder and I put it in Dropbox.
It's like shoving it in the closet, like when you're a kid and you like shove it in the closet, like push the door shut, and we just don't open that door.
It's so bad, but I've been doing that now for 4 years. So you can imagine the chaos. So every year at Christmas, I'm like, do you know what? If you just spent like a couple of days, you can just go through it. Also, your computer's getting slow, your Dropbox is getting full, and there's loads of stuff in there that genuinely could be deleted. Like you just don't need it. And you're going to feel so good when you've done it. And every year I genuinely believe that I'm going to do it. And every year I get distracted by mince pies, and it's January and I haven't done it. And so how do people get started? Because I think also it's very overwhelming when I start to think about what I need to do. I'm just like, I don't even know where to begin. And if I am going to start to file it in a different way, and then I don't know what that way is, so then I just don't do it.
So okay, you have hit the nail on the head. Like this is what I do with people a lot, is they want to get going, but they have like no idea like where to start. They just they need a plan. And so that's a lot of what I do, is like, okay, here's our plan. Here's your checklist. Here's what you're going to do. So when it comes to decluttering. This is actually where I like to kind of start. Depends on the person. We either start decluttering or we'll actually like build a system. So as we declutter and find things we need, we know exactly where to put it. So if you are a person that's great at building structure, you're just not great at like keeping up with it. Sometimes it's actually really helpful to build the file folder first. So as you're going through stuff, you don't kind of get distracted. Oh no, where do I put it? You know exactly where it's going to go.
Yeah.
But when it comes to decluttering, just like you're doing physical decluttering, we want to start with really easy stuff. So I'm going to use Google Drive as an example, but like all of these apply to pretty much anything like Dropbox, your downloads folder, or whatever.
Don't even get started on the downloads folder.
Oh, everybody, that's their thing. But if you start with old stuff, okay? Start with stuff that's really old. So if you are in Google Drive, I'm going to open mine up on my other screen here so I can actually like walk you through and make sure I'm telling you exactly what this is called.
This is great.
In Google Drive, if you use a list view, instead of like all the little squares, there's date, it'll say date last modified by me, or date there's last opened by me. This is the last time you actually opened that file. If you've never done this and you sort last opened by me, you might be surprised how old some of your files are, depending how long you've had this account. But if you do that, you might get stuff that maybe you haven't opened it since 2019, and it's almost 2023 as we're recording this. 2023 is like, I don't know, a couple of weeks away. So if you haven't opened it, I know, right?
Yeah.
If you haven't opened it in 4 years, like
you're not gonna.
You haven't even opened the file. Do you really need it? Probably not. And sometimes you do find stuff you're like, oh my gosh, that's where that training went, or that's where that swipe file went. And then what we do is we rename it something, because guess what? You can rename anything, including all those free downloads, so that it makes sense to you. That's when we make sure it's a good name and we file it somewhere where you're actually going to use it in like a folder called Learn. I always tell everyone, like, especially if you're an online business owner, have a folder called Learn or professional development or opt-ins from people or something.
It's interesting because in my Dropbox, I have actually got one that I'm actually quite good at keeping. And that is like my study folder. Yes. And because I do a lot of courses, a lot of training, like I'm obsessed with learning, and I love learning. But often then you're going to need like your what do you call it, like manuals or
all their like downloads from the courses, the handouts, like the templates they give you,
and
all that stuff
that I use like really frequently, because say if I'm doing a one-to-one client and they present with a specific issue, I might be like, oh my God, I know the protocol for that, but I haven't used it. I haven't used that protocol for ages. Hang on a minute. And I know it's in that study folder. Yes. And then I can pull it out like super easy, or like my feelings wheels, or like the things that shows how emotions move through the body, all these different kind of like heat maps that show how emotion moves. And so if somebody doesn't know how they're feeling, I'll be like, well, where is it in the body? And it shows them the heat map, and it can help them get clarity. So it's those kinds of things.
And you know where that is, because that's the thing. I always ask people. I presented at a conference recently, and I think the room I was in, I don't know, there was probably like 100 and some people in this room. And I said, all right, I'm about to ask you, you're going to talk to your partner. It was all educators. So you're going to turn and talk to your partner, which we're like, oh, teachers are the worst when it comes to audience participation. Yeah. And I'm like, this is the weirdest thing you were going to say all convention. This is the weirdest question you're going to answer. Tell the person next to you, where are your socks? So if I ask you and they're like, so if you ask me, hey, Lisa, where are your socks? Oh, they're in my bedroom. They're in the dresser. They're in the top left drawer. They're in the front middle part of the drawer. Because of course my drawers are subdivided. Welcome to my brain. That's how it works. Yeah. And the thing is, if you're like, well, I'm not organized, I can't be organized, you already manage a very complex organizational system. It's your house. If you need a pair of socks, you don't start looking underneath your bathroom sink, probably. You don't go to the kitchen and start opening drawers looking for your socks. True. Like, you know where they are. Yeah. Your digital files should be the same way. So if you're like, oh, I want that heat and feelings map. Oh, I go to my learned folder, it's from this course by, I don't know who, Julie. And oh yeah, it's, I think it was like module 2, or, oh, it's in this handout one, and there it is. And it's actually called like feelings heat map, image or whatever, key, or, whatever it is. So if you're like, I just can't do it. Yes, you can. Literally think of it just like clothes. Think of it just like I always tell people, if you leave all of your files just like heaped into like my drive, the my drive section, that's like if you went into your bedroom or wherever you keep your clothes and you pulled all of them out of the drawers, out of your closet, and you just put them in a big heap in your floor. That's what it's like. You're never going to find 2 matching socks. Yeah, you're never going to find like your favorite shirt. Stuff is going to get buried in the middle of it, and you're never going to find it again.
Yeah.
But when you take all those out and you have, a drawer for socks and underwear and a drawer for pajamas, and this is where I keep my pants, this is where the sweaters go, more or less the right area.
Yeah.
And then you can find what you want. That's what digital organizing is like.
As well, because one of the things that I read about ADHD, because I've started trying to implement things anyway, like whether I've got it clinically or not.
It's helpful. It's good. It's good strategies. It's good coping strategies. And
just realizing, like, the same as anything, I'm always like, you know what, if you can bring awareness to something,
yes,
then you need to action. You can't having awareness of something. Oh, I do these things and maybe they're a little bit strange, or maybe there's a better way that I could do it. And so I started reading loads of stuff about, how to organize yourself if you're, not neurotypical.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I read consistently was about boxes. And it was about having boxes for things instead of keeping things all hidden away in drawers, because if you have certain type of ADHD, once you can't see something, it
ceases to exist. Yes.
And I would always like lock myself out of my flat, and obviously that wasn't really a problem when I lived with people, because
but now
I live by myself. It's actually quite a big problem.
Yeah.
And one day, I was trying desperately to break back into my flat with the help of a neighbour and a ladder, and I had to make a really, really long get a coat hanger to that was wire, and then it had this like super long piece of wire trying to hook my keys off of my it was a nightmare, because I had a client and I was freaking out. I was like, oh my God, how am I going to get back in the flat? And my phone, I didn't even have shoes on. I went out to take the bins out, and the door just clicked behind me, and I thought I'd put it on the latch, and I was like,
no.
And now I have some ways to work around this, but one of the things that it said was everything that you need for the day, put it in a box next to your front door.
Yeah.
And I thought, stupid idea. Anyway, I'll give it a go.
Yeah.
Game changer. I've barely forgotten my keys since. I've barely forgotten my wallet since.
Because I just have to check this box, and
every time I come in the house, it's the first thing I see. Empty everything into the box that lives in the box. And then every time I leave the house, what do you need from this box? And I can physically see it, and I put it into my handbag, and then I leave the house. It's such a good system. And so then I started implementing it around my house. So I have baskets in my bathroom. Yes. I have baskets in my wardrobe. So like when you said, where are your socks kept? My socks are actually kept in a box.
Perfect.
In the top of the left-hand side of my wardrobe.
And
And then you can just chuck everything into the box.
It is so much about finding the system that works. I always say it's the system that works for you, your brain, and your business. And we work for business owners. So I'm like, anyone who tells you they have a ready to go like file system, they'll just give you, like, run. Because they haven't talked to you. Because like I like a folder in a folder in a folder in a folder. Like I have folders, like I like very specific. I like a lot of subcategories. That's not going to work for you maybe. And most people I work with, they don't like that. So when I work with people, it really is, okay, tell me how you organize things, or tell me what works, tell me what doesn't work. Like you just said, like you telling me about, so I put it in boxes. It's amazing. Okay. So what that tells me is, you're not going to be a person that we're going to be able to do like folders and folders and folders. So we're going to need it all like surface level so that you can actually see it and remember.
Maybe this is where
I have that. I forgot I did that. But look, there it is right there on like when I click on my drive or, whatever, it's right there.
Yeah. Or maybe that's where I'm going wrong, because I tend to file folders in subcategory, and then I can never find, and it's not even about finding things, it's about knowing where to put something when I've got it, because then it's like, okay, I've got this thing, is that subcategory X, Y, or Z, or should it be in this one, or and then I get overwhelmed, and then I think I don't want to do it.
So that's the other thing. People, like, they want to, I think, you know, they want to do it right away. They don't want to mess it up.
Yeah.
But I'm always like, you know, you're never going to figure it out until you do it. So just try something. If it doesn't work, it's pretty easy to reorganize digital files. Like, it's not like the old school filing cabinet where there's 4 drawers and there's actually all papers and folders, and it's very laborious to actually have to do everything. We can just drag and drop. We can, you know what, let's just pull that folder out, or, hey, let's just drag that file over into this folder instead. Or, you know, I'm really finding that this would actually be better if I put it in, you know, my Dropbox or in this drive. It's really easy to move stuff, but you're not going to know what you need until you try something.
Yeah.
And then you realize, okay, this seems like a good idea, but I forgot about da-da-da-da-da. Okay, let's try this now. Yeah. And so a lot of times when I work with people, it's okay, well, we're going to start this, you know, try this for a couple of weeks. And then, okay, how'd that work? What worked? What didn't? What are you running into? Okay, let's adjust. So how about now well, why don't we do this? And they're like, okay, let's move it there, and things like that.
Amazing. Yeah, I do think it's very much... like you say, having the system, but then keeping the system up. Oh, go on. Sorry.
I was going to say, or like maintenance things.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's like, how do you, because it's all well and good. Okay, so you've done the declutter. You're feeling really proud of yourself. It's like,
but then in 2 weeks, it's like a nightmare
when
again.
You're like, yeah. How do you stay on top of everything?
So organization, it's all about habits. So for a lot of people that I work with, what they'll do is they'll download something. It goes into their downloads folder. They open and they look at it like, this is amazing, or they use it. And then it just stays in downloads. And your downloads folder is not meant to be a permanent place to save files. It's a temporary holding ground, people. Rachel's like, I feel called out. She's not the only one. This is a really common thing for people. So one of the big things I work with is like, okay, your new habit is when you download something, you immediately pull it out of downloads. Even like as a teacher, sometimes I didn't have time to like file it where I needed to. So I'd pull it out to my desktop of my computer because that was a temporary place. And then at the end of the day, I would see, okay, what's on my desktop? Oh, okay, I'm going to rename it, and then I'm going to file it like where it should actually go. So I'll actually see it or know where to look for it. So it's little habits, like I always challenge people too. I say, time yourself and see how long it takes to do this, because it literally takes like 20 seconds when you have systems in place. And there's kind of like a common rule in the decluttering organizing world. And sometimes it's the 1 minute rule. Sometimes it's the 2 minute rule. I first heard about it from a gal named Gretchen Rubin in one of her books. For me, it's the 1 minute rule, which is if it takes less than a minute, just do it. Yeah. So for me, here's my like toxic habit is like, so I have this like sweater on right now over this t-shirt, and I'll just go take it off and like throw it on the floor, or toss it on my bed or something. And like, it would literally take me 10 seconds to put it on a hanger and hang it up and put it away. Yeah. But I'm like, and so I probably dozens of times a day say to myself, if it takes less than a minute, do it. And I begrudgingly pick up the sweater, put it on the hanger and put it away. And I do that a lot, or like putting the dish in the dishwasher instead of just setting it in the sink. Yeah. Because, that takes literally 3 seconds. Yeah. But if I let it all pile up, now I have a giant sink of dishes, and it feels so, I'm like, oh, yeah. And I put it off, and it gets bad. Yeah. So really it's habits. So it's things like renaming and filing files right away. Mm-hmm. The other thing is, like I said, for me, my system was I would put stuff in my or pull it out to my computer desktop. Yeah. And then at the end of the day, go through and like, okay, I don't need that screenshot, like deleting. Okay, delete. Oh, I do want that, move that here. Mm-hmm. Oh gosh, yeah, I needed to upload that into Canva so I could make the whatever. Let me upload it to Canva. And then like, I don't actually need that photo anymore because now it's in Canva, like, so I would sort of, that desktop kind of acted as a to-do list for me. Yeah. The other thing is, if you have a ton of files and like decluttering, just say, I'm going to delete 5 files every day. You're like, sweet, 5. I have to get my calculator out. If you do 5 files in Monday through Friday, because let's not work on the weekends, and there's 4 weeks in a month, you're getting through 100 files a month. So that if you delete 5 files a day, Monday through Friday for 1 month, you will have deleted 100 files. And when you can think about it in those little chunks, it seems much more manageable, and it's just like all these little steps. And again, if you're deleting the files and like new files coming in, you're implementing those new habits about naming and filing, you're basically chipping away at the problem without letting it get bigger.
100%.
That's what it is. And it's the same thing for emails as well. Same approach.
While you were kind of chatting then, I was just like, I'm really intrigued now to see when was the last time I touched my downloads folder, and actually I haven't.
Did you pull it up and go by date?
Out of my downloads folder since September.
What month is it now? It's December. Okay. That's not like horrible. That's honestly not horrible. I've worked with people that have had stuff in there for years, actually. But, I mean, but I normally, because what I do is because the problem is my laptop will start running really slow, because if you think about the kind of files that I work with generally, like recording this podcast, for example, recordings or high images, videos,
couple of big audio files, a big video file and stuff like that. And so, also I have my membership, Happy Habits Club, where every week there's new video content going into there, new video content. So a lot of the stuff gets really big, and then
so
I will just dump it in Dropbox.
Yes, here's your habit. Is I'm a Post-it person too, like very brightly colored Post-its that says like, when you're done working, empty downloads. So when I'm doing client work, I work for a couple of membership owners, and again, it's video files, it's images, whatever. And when I get done with my work session, I open up downloads and I'm like, okay, I uploaded that video. I don't need that, like delete. And okay, all those images. Okay, and that chat file, I already pulled the links, like da-da-da. Yeah. So at the end of for me, it's mostly client work. I open downloads and I empty it out because normally I'm like, I will have downloaded maybe 10 or 20 things, but I don't need them. No. And like, I'm done with them. And so that's one of my habits, is when I am done with like a work session, I go to downloads, kind of do a mental check, or sometimes I do need to like drag it out. Oh, I got to put that in there, whatever, and file it away. But again, now we're also getting it out of downloads. We're putting it where we're going to find it. Oh, I can't leave it like GMT, bunch of numbers, whatever Zoom names their files. Oh, I want to rename this, like mastermind session, September 20th, whatever. Yeah. So it's little habits like that again, so literally important. There is nothing wrong with a bright Post-it like in your work area, because until it becomes second nature. Yeah. I've literally started, I have this new stuff, which honestly, a game changer, based again on this thing of when things aren't in front of me, they don't exist. I have this like whiteboard paper. So you pull it out and then it sticks to your wall. I know what this is. Like, it sticks to the wall. And so in front of me here, you can't see it. I have like just some key things that I need to remember for the business, like things that I need to do, like, the systems and a couple of things. And it's like right in front of me. So every day I can't not see it. Yes. And it's so helpful. So helpful. And I think there's that's a thing too. Some people think like, oh, I have to hold it all. I have to remember it all. Like, you're not gonna. I mean, even if all you do is run a business, or like all you do, there's so many pieces. But then you have to remember, you might be caring for family members. Oh, and hey, you should take care of yourself as well. And, there's household things you have to remember, like, oh, the, maintenance is coming or whatever. When you really sit down and think about all the little things that you have to manage and remember or find, it's too much. It is too much for you. It's too much for anybody. The human brain was not made to constantly remember this. Or if you do, what happens is you're constantly worried. You throw yourself into a constant fight, flight, or freeze situation. And you're constantly high stress level and high cortisol levels, and that will break down your body. That will cause you issues. There is nothing wrong with like having supports and visual aids and putting it somewhere else. Like Asana holds a lot of my brain, because when I sit down to do, I work with like 3 different business owners. I cannot juggle everything I have to do for 3 different businesses, plus my business, plus my life. So when I go to Asana, it tells me exactly what I'm supposed to do today.
Yeah.
And the files I need are attached to the task. So my brain does not have to try and remember all that, because I won't.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that list on your wall, fantastic. And here's what you do when it suddenly becomes, sometimes when something's in one place for too long, it becomes invisible. Just take it from that wall and just move it 90 degrees and put it beside you.
Yeah.
And that little bit of novelty makes it like brand new for your brain.
Yeah.
Put the Post-its. I had so many Post-its around my computer when I started as an online business owner, and like took me a while to find my groove. Guess what? There's still like, there's notes everywhere. Like there's all kinds of stuff. And that is a valid system. That doesn't mean you don't have your stuff together. That doesn't mean you're failing. Like, no, that means you're finding supports that work for you. I think that was a big thing too for me as a teacher, and working with students who are either neurodivergent or just thought different ways. I like, hey, like make yourself a note, get out the reference sheet. Like it's okay to use help and supports. That doesn't mean you're dumb. You know, it just means you're human, you know, and whatever you need to be successful is what you should do. There's like no shame in that game. And, you know, everybody is different, whether you're, you know, neurodivergent or neurotypical, or you're diagnosed with something or not. Like everybody is different. You know, you can give people blocks and say, build something. Everyone's going to build something different.
Yeah.
Like organizing is the same way. Everyone's going to do it differently. They're going to do it in the way that feels good and natural for them.
Yeah.
And that's really what I do, is I kind of help people figure that out. Like I don't come in and say, this is what you're going to do. I'll like get to know them and say, okay, well, you know, here's like 3 options. Which one feels easiest to you? Which one feels most natural? And that's the path we're going to go. And then we're going to tweak it until we have a system that works for you.
Yeah, I think that's the only way to work, isn't it? Because everybody's so unique.
Yeah.
Not everybody finds, like, everybody's brains work differently. Not everybody finds the same things like
enjoyable
easy
or
to follow.
easy.
Do you know what? Enjoyable.
Yeah.
It's such.
I don't like color coding things. None of my stuff is color coded, but a lot of people do. And I'm like, sweet, color code it because it works for you. Color code it because you like looking at it. I'm like, I don't, but that doesn't mean it's wrong. Like there's no right way. As I get older, I realize there's no right way to do anything. There's just different ways. It's not better. It's not worse. It's just different. And they're all valid.
Color coding for me was like a game changer, because I have so many different aspects of my business that through color coding, I can clearly understand, that's a digital meeting. So I don't need any
and
travel.
That means
I don't need any
nothing
travel
to me.
I don't need any travel time, you know, for that one. This is like a, you know, maybe a corporate session or a session where I need to leave the house. So for that session, build in
I
need to think about, what do I need to pack? What am I taking? Is this a guided meditation and therefore I just need like my speaker and, you know, just generic stuff? Or do I need to take my gongs and all my bags? Do I need to drive there? Have I got to think about parking?
It's
so
all for
these
you, like
things.
Color triggers that does not work for me. I've tried to color code my calendar and like color code things, and that's just not how my brain works. Like I'm just like, it just bothers me because they're different colors.
And then you're like, it's not uniform.
I'm like, why is it different color? The only thing I color code is like, and in Google Calendar, I have so many different calendars. Like my family's calendar is one color and my business calendar is another color. So like,
that makes sense.
Know that. But like within my business, if it was like discovery calls are this and coffee chats are this and courses are, I'd be like, why is that all different?
Yeah, but I think for a lot of that stuff,
that's just me.
Like, but for a lot of that stuff, it's like the same, even though it's a different thing, it's pretty, by the sounds of it, it's pretty much like I'm on Zoom, have a, you know, I'm set up.
It's all
I just need to
basically
know who I'm talking to and what I'm talking about.
Exactly.
I don't need to know like.
Yeah, I'll like click the thing and like read it and be like, oh, okay, yeah, it's, you know, whatever. But like just like color coding for me, it's like this ongoing joke. Like my files are just all black. They're in a list view, like everything. Like It's like
but
the most
again, it's what
boring thing
works.
ever, but it's how my brain works.
Yeah.
And there are other people like, oh, I color code everything. I have emojis in my file names because I like that visual input.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, there's a website, Emojipedia, like encyclopedia, but it's Emojipedia. And it has like all the emojis. And if you search like, I don't know, like thumbs up, it shows you what they look like for like Samsung and Apple and Android, like the different platforms or whatever.
This sounds
but then
like
you can
a new
copy
special
it,
interest coming on.
right? But then you can copy it and then you can paste it into, you know, wherever you want to paste it, like your emails. It's a good place if you don't have like an emoji keyboard or an easy way to do it. You can copy and paste it into stuff. But there are people who like to put emojis in their file names, and they're so small for me, like doesn't work. And again, I'm not like a visual person like that, but I'm like, sweet, because I work with teachers and like, oh, I'm doing my food unit, so I have like, you know, some food for that. Oh, my clothing unit, I have a little clothing for family, I have like the family emoji, and you know, for community I have like the hospital or whatever emoji.
That's so cool.
And you know, or they put it in like their if you're a membership owner, teachers will put it in like their assignment names or the names of their modules because it like makes it more fun. Or they'll use it like the purple heart, which isn't great for colorblind students, so don't color code things that way. Side story, my first year of teaching, very first year, I had a student who he was born, and I think it's the cones in your eyes that allow you to see color. Well, he was born, they were damaged. So he saw the world in grayscale.
Wow.
So everything was like black and white to him. He had no color vision. Wow. And so from my very first year of teaching, I never color coded anything. Or if I did, it was also shape coded. So it was like, oh, you're the triangle group, you're the circle group. Clever. And in my like presentations, also when I present, I never say like, oh, it's the red text. I would font code and use different fonts, or I would make it bold or italic or underline and distinguish like some other way.
So clever.
Because he saw no color. And then I had a lot of students throughout the years that didn't realize they were colorblind until I was teaching the colors in Spanish. And he's like, what clase? ¿Qué color es? What color is this? And everyone's like, blue. And this one kid's like, green. And it was very obviously blue. It wasn't one of those weird ones. And he's like, that's green, right? And I was like, no. Like, I think I probably had 4 kids in my class discover they had some level of color blindness.
Because like, how are you going to know
that? I mean, yeah. And I always thought it'd be funny because this is going to give you a real insight into the kind of person I am. I did not do this, but I just thought, wouldn't it be funny if you had a kid and when you're teaching your baby the colors, you taught them all wrong, and you taught them that like the sky is orange and grass is yellow, and like you legitimately taught them like those red roses. Oh, that's purple. Like you just legitimately taught them all the colors wrong. And so when they went to school, like, but their worldview was really skewed.
This is the thing, because like, you don't realize how much we rely on. As I talk about this a lot with mindset stuff.
Yeah, it's your perception,
but it's your
it's
map
not always right.
It's your map of the world. And the only reason that we all kind of, because when I had my breakdown, this literally happened to me. I didn't know what was true anymore. And I remember legitimately feeling like if somebody told me like the grass is blue and the sky is green, I'd be like, oh, okay. And I wouldn't be 100% sure, you know, like, whereas now you'd be like, no, it isn't. But it's that map of the world that's created through shared
experiences or
and just shared
beliefs.
What's the word? Oh, come on, brain. It's like, you know, we all agree that's the leaves are green and this is the rose is red, right? We all agree on that. So that it's like this kind of shared agreement that, you know, this is the color of my hair. We're all going to wear clothes.
There's like social agreements, like social constructs that everybody
this kind
follows.
of like map that helps people to feel safe. Because it's like, actually, if you're that kid and you were taught this is purple and the leaves are yellow,
suddenly
and no one wears clothes anywhere, and you turn up to school on your first day naked telling everyone the rose is purple, everyone's going to be like, you okay, hun? But actually, there's nothing wrong with that child. It's just the map It's different. It's like,
yes.
I mean, this could get really deep.
Right? I'm like, well, that's essentially what culture shock is too. Like I studied in Mexico. I'm from the US, if you hadn't noticed by my accent. I'm from like Nebraska, which is right in the middle, real small town, like rural farms everywhere. And I went and studied in this city called Querétaro in Mexico. And it's just like, and like culture shock, really. It's just, you just feel so out of your element and like you're doing everything wrong. And oh gosh, this could get real deep. We've steered so far from organizing.
But the same with like the slang, like you were saying, I have to look up the slang. Is that a good or a bad thing?
It's like, I don't know what you're saying.
And that's the thing, isn't it? It makes you feel, dare I say it, like unsafe when you don't understand the landscape.
Yes. And you don't want to make a mistake because as humans, we crave community because community is safety and survival. Yes. And when everyone keeps yelling Bosch, and I don't know what the heck that is. And like, it's funny because when I studied in Mexico and even like Taskmaster, I don't know how edited it is over there, but on YouTube, a lot of times it's completely unedited. And you learn like swears or insults or kind of like funny things you say, but I'm not really aware of like the nuance, like how severe these things are. You don't understand, like, is this a really offensive, hurtful thing to say? Or is this just kind of like joking around?
But
like
also
you don't learn that and you get sort of scared. But
there's also
like,
nuance in that, right?
Yeah, about your relationship with the other person or the situation or how well you know them. Yes.
Because sometimes it's like okay to use that word in that environment, but you wouldn't use it
not in another one. Or there's some word they would use on Bake Off, and it's a baking term, but it was also a slang term for boobs. And I can't remember what it was, but everyone's laughing. I had like Google, like, why is this funny? Like, what is this? No, BAPS. I think it was BAPS.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
So it's like a roll, but it's also
it's like a roll, like a bun, like you would eat something on, but it also means that. And they were like doing some double entendre joke, and I'm like, I don't.
You're like,
it.
what?
I'm like, pause. What does BAPS? I'm like, oh, and my Google search history is probably very concerning to some.
You need to just get on Urban Dictionary. It will tell you everything.
I was like, why? Like on Taskmaster, again, I'm so sorry, everyone British listening, if this is wildly inappropriate. But on Taskmaster, they kept calling people a bell end. I'm like, this is a hilarious thing to say. But I'm like, why is this an insult? And so I literally Googled, why is bell end an insult? It's like, oh, because it references this. And I'm like, oh. Do you know why it is? I'm like, I can share my Google results, but I was just like, that makes sense. I don't think I'm going to say that. No. But like, I didn't know why. And it's like,
but again,
funny.
It's that kind of thing where at school you would maybe say to your mate, oh, don't be a bell end.
Yeah.
And it's not like that offensive.
But you'd never be to the teacher and be like, oh, I'm so sorry, teacher, I'm being a total bell end. Or like, you probably wouldn't go that way.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's more like you wouldn't.
I'm just that person that rolls in like, oh, I'm so sorry, I was acting foolish. Please disregard my offensive behavior where I like skew real formal and safe.
It depends what people think as well. Like I'm from a fishing town, and so my language gets very colourful a lot of the time because that's just how
we call it
talks.
Like swearing like a sailor is what we call it in the US. Right. Like you were in the Navy and you swear like a sailor, and
everybody swears where I come from. It's more rare that people don't, instead of saying like and trying to think what to say, people go fucking like that. It's just like a pause.
That's just what you do.
And then I remember being in this job interview once, and at the end of the job interview, the guy, I got the job, and the guy said to me, oh, it's funny that you got the job. And I said, why? And he said, because you swore in your interview. And I was like, did I?
I did?
And then he said the word, I can't remember what the word was. It was something like shit or bullshit or something like that. And I just looked at him like really confused. I was like, that's not swearing. In my head, I was like, oh my God, did I drop the F-bomb or a C-bomb in a job interview? It's bad, And then he was like, oh, you said like bullshit or something like that. I was like that's not swear words. Like,
if you can't handle that, you don't want me in the office.
That's literally what I said. It was great. I worked there for years. We had a good time. I'm really conscious of time because
I know. I'm like, I could just talk to you all day. That's what I've learned today. I'm like, hey, you just want to hang out because it's 8:46 in the morning where I am. I literally have all day to talk.
And I'm like, it's my next appointment in 15 minutes.
10. Oh shoot, yeah, we gotta wrap this up then.
But what one thing do you wish you'd known? Obviously, it's called things I wish I'd known. I haven't even got the one question.
Okay. So I was thinking about this, but here's the one thing I wish I had known. And I'm going to bring this episode around. It's going to be so great. The one thing I wish I had known is that things aren't important. Things don't make you who you are. Things aren't what make people like you or care about you. And I think so much, especially when you're like a young kid, I grew up in the 90s, but it was important to have like the right clothes or the right pencil or the right whatever, because that was going to make you popular and cool and accepted. And the way I grew up, love was really shown through things and through buying things. And so I really kind of grew up with this skewed notion that happiness was something you bought. Happiness was something you got through getting things, and new things made you happy, and that a thing would solve your problems. And as I've gotten older, I'm realized, I don't like people because of the things they have or the way they dress. I like them because of who they are and how they treat people. And, that's why I like people. And your value doesn't come, or your worth or your ability, your right to be loved doesn't come because you wore the right thing or you had the right purse or your house had the right decorations. It's you deserve to be valued and loved just because you exist. You exist, and that makes you worthy of love. And your relationships are based on how you care for people and how you interact in the world. And are you trying to do good, or are you tearing people down? That's ultimately what matters. And things don't matter. If right now, because for me, that's still a very hard thing to believe. But when I get in that bad mental thing, I think about my very best friends, and I think, okay, if my friend Brandy lived in a really tiny house that had the bare necessities and were all secondhand clothes, would I think she was a worse person, or would I not want to be her friend anymore? No, of course not. She's the smartest, most caring, compassionate, amazing person in the world. I don't care about the things in her life. I care about her. Yeah. And I think that's really what I wish I would have, that's the message I wish I would have been told, growing up. And especially I was a high school teacher. I worked with middle schools, about 13 to 18-year-olds. I spent 10 years with them, and to watch them kind of go through that really difficult time in life. And where you're so self-conscious and you want to fit in, and you're worried about, am I smart enough? Do I have the cool enough things? Just no, man, you're I didn't say this to them because I can't, but you're fucking brilliant. You're an amazing human being. Are you kidding me? Yeah, you suck at Spanish. I'm not going to lie. Spanish is really hard for you, but you are so creative, and every story you write for this class, it's always so unique, and you always have such a different spin, and you do things I could never even imagine. I think you're brilliant. Your gift is not the same as someone else's gift. That doesn't mean you're wrong. That means your gift is different, and you don't have to fit in.
To learn as well at that age, because I think definitely coming through school is
it's tough. It can be really, really tough for some kids. And when it's hard when you're an adult and you're looking at these kids and you have the perspective of having been out of those difficult years, and these truths now, your grades don't matter. I always tell my kids, I'm a teacher, and I'm telling you, this grade doesn't matter. Yeah. And everyone freaked out about biology in my school because it was a really hard class. So the teacher was he's a good teacher, he's smart, very hard. And they'd always freak out before a test. I go, guys, do you know what my high school biology grade was? No, what was it, Miss McHargue? What was it? I go, I don't know, guys. And no one ever asked me. No one has ever said, hey, McHargue, what was your biology grade? Nobody cares. It doesn't matter. And I just say, what matters? What matters is how hard you're willing to work and how you treat people. That is all that matters in life. You want to be successful? Work hard and be kind. Because those are the people that people want to hire. Those are the people that get stuff done. I was that teacher that I was just it's all a lie. The system is a game and none of this matters. Just be nice and learn to accept who you are. That's all you have to do.
Maybe we need to get do a podcast episode where it's you and the kids who you taught, but they're older now.
Oh my God.
Whether it actually
I would
fed through.
probably just I'd probably just cry. I would probably just, oh no, like sometimes this is not always what happens. Teaching is hard, but every now and then I'd get like a letter from like, they'd write me letters like seniors would. And I still have some of them because I would just cry. Like my favorite one was like, thanks for caring about us, as like looking at us as more than a grade and a C. And like, thanks for like seeing us as people and like being a safe space and actually asking how we were doing and listening. I'm just like, oh, love you so much. Please have a healthy, good life and know you're amazing. I'd be a wreck if you brought me on with former students. Unless they were all like horrible people now, or like, it's your fault. I'm like I'd probably still cry, but for very different reasons. Yeah. So anyways, there's what I wish I had known.
It has been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I could talk to you all day.
I know.
I think once we get off camera, I will probably be talking to you about helping me sort my digital mess
we're going to talk.
From behind the screen.
Here's the thing too. We're going to talk because you're lovely. And all of like those files, I always tell people like, you're doing such amazing things, and your files and your digital clutter should not hold you back from accomplishing your mission and helping people. And so I work with like, I'm working with a postpartum nurse. I'm working with an educational equity consultant, these people that are doing amazing things in the world. And I'm like, I'm not going to let your files stop you from doing and making the world a better place, because you're amazing and we need to make you do all the great things. So.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming. It's been awesome. I will put, for anyone who wants to get in touch with Lisa, I will put all the links below, because it's highly likely I'm not the only one who
I feel like we need some bonus content with us talking about slang and my horrible understanding of British terms. And I'm just going to message you, I'm watching Big Up Holiday Edition, and she said this. What the heck does it mean?
I love it.
Yes.
And thank you to all the listeners for listening. If you are watching on YouTube, please hit the little bell and subscribe to the channel. Then you will get a little reminder when we've got new episodes out for you to enjoy. If you are listening on your favourite podcast platform, please, I am actually begging, leave us a review. It really, really helps us to reach more people, for people to understand what the podcast's about and why they should listen. And also click that subscribe button as well. And thank you so much for being here. We will be back with another episode very soon. Much love.
We hope you've enjoyed listening as much as Rachael enjoys making this podcast.